Welcome everybody in this video in which we're going to talk and we're going to explore in depth this particular shape. This is the core of the resonator of the space-time antenna, and some of you are familiar, they know that it's called also a Merkaba, but in our case it's made out of copper sheets and also with Sierpinski gasket fractal pattern which repeats itself. Now it looks very cool, and many people ask me, why did you build it? How did you build it? From what it's made? It is made out of copper. I have here a smaller version, which you can see much better, but it's the same. It's just a smaller. It's only 30 centimeters, and the other one is 50. Now, as I said, some people know it as a Merkaba, other people know it like the star tetrahedron because it's two tetrahedrons interpenetrating. One is pointing up and one is pointing down. Now, other people who are familiar with the mathematics, they know it like Stella Octangula. Stella means star in Latin, and octangula, octo in Greek is 8. Octangula means that has 8 points. But if you see it in front of you like this in two-dimensional plane, you will see that if you cut it like this, it would look like a 6-pointed star or the Star of David. So there are many points of view which you can explore this. And in this video, we're going to explore from multi-dimensional point of view this shape, and we're going to explain why the tetrahedron, some of you are familiar that they must rotate in opposite direction. And we're going to see here how this rotation happens within the space-time antenna without this shape, this Stella Octangula, to move actually by standing still, but the fields inside, the vortices inside the spheres are moving in the opposite direction, and you will see why this is happening. So if you're interested, if you're curious, stay with me because we're going to dive in right now. Now, as I said earlier, the one way to see this is like two tetrahedrons interpenetrating each other, and you can see one of the points of view is that one of those tetrahedron, for example this one, it can represent time, or the base of this tetrahedron, these 3 points here, they can represent the 3 aspects of time. What are the 3 aspects of time? Time has past, present and future. Past, present and future. And those 3 aspects, in order to exist, they need space, at least one aspect of the space. The space also has 3 aspects, can be seen like here, there and over there, or can be seen like width, depth and height. Those can be 3 different aspects of the space. So in this particular shape, we can see that there are 3 aspects of time here, which is past, present and future, and they connect in the middle point below with one aspect of space, which is here. Okay, and the other thing, the other tetrahedron is opposite, has depth, width and length, but this is connected with the main aspect of time, which is now, which is right now, because time exists only in this moment. You can experience time only at that moment. You know, even the past and what you call future, your dreams, you can experience them only in this moment. So this is very interesting revelation in a sense. It's also expressed the connection between you as a physical person and your higher self, because Bashar explained that the higher self experience much more flexible time and very limited space, but we as a human, as ego structure, we experience much more space but very limited time perspective. In other words, we can move in space freely here and there, but we can experience only now moment, while the higher self can experience very little space, doesn't move so much, okay, but can shift in time entirely, whatever he wants, the same way we move in space very freely. This is why he can give us insights and he can provide us with much more precise, let's say, guidance when we have a dream or in our vision. he is much more aware about different timelines which we can follow, what will happen in the future. And this is why he can send us inspirations, he can send us images or different feelings in order to guide us in those timelines which he perceived much clearly. So this is just one aspect of the Merkaba. But let's get more scientific here, and let's see what Bashar has to say about this. Why he see that this Merkaba actually is multidimensional gateway. Let's listen a very short recording, and then we're going to talk about it.
At this time, let us point out that the structures that have been generated are of a nature wherein, as many of you already know, they can function, as we have discussed, as dimensional gateways and doorways in moving them around in your mind to open up and shift avenues of intention, of perspective. The idea of the 27 points are all the points that can be described in the first three vectors of 180, 90, and 45 degrees on a sphere. That is why 27 is so important. It is the three directions of physical reality described on a sphere. You will arrive at 27 points, 26 on the surface and 1 in the center. Also why it is the number of the letters in what you would call the Hebrew alphabet, which are intimately connected in the idea of the opening of gateways through their tonal vibration and meditation thereupon. So the idea of the description of the cube in the tetrahedron through the interstices of the 27 points is a physical shadow description of the vibratory key that is representative of all the doorways, all the perspectives, all the tonal vibrations, all in one form holographically, that can open up all the doorways all at once. It is similar in essence to the idea of what we have already talked about the two interpenetrating tetrahedrons, one pointing up, one pointing down, like a three-dimensional Star of David, with one rotating clockwise, one rotating counterclockwise as they interpenetrate. It is another variation, an exploded form of that idea, as if you were X-raying the dimensional gates and the pathways, the energy pathways within that form, inside that form, and discovering the doorway in the center that is the tesseract. That is the hypercube. This is what in general this shape represents. It represents much more on higher dimensional levels, but this is one of the shadow forms as it translates into your three-dimensional reality. This is what we will discuss at this time. This is all we will say for now.
As you can see, Bashar is talking about multidimensional gateway, which is in a sense like an access, like a key to all other perspective or gateways or dimensions. It's this star at the center is gaining dimensionality because there are 26 vectors, as Bashar explained, situated in 45 degrees from each other. And one of the discoveries that I have made during the last 3 years is that those 26 vectors, or the points from which they move towards the center, they can be seen like here, okay, like here when you see the two triangles are kissing each other in a sense, like on the top of each point also, and they can be seen here very, very specifically, very clearly. They can be seen. If you make measurements, you will see that this point and this point, they're 45 degrees from each other, and this point also here, and you will see that they are 26 in number, and they move towards the center, in which they make the major fulcrum point, the 27th point. But what is fulcrum point? What is this? Maybe first time you face this expression, this word, fulcrum point. A fulcrum point is a point of a balance. When we have two energies with equal strength and opposite direction, they find agreement, they find balance in a specific points, which we call fulcrum points. They are point of balance. As Bashar explained, the life is in a sense 50% negative, 50% positive, but the love is what allows even the positive and negative to exist equally, and in the center point there is a point of fulcrum, point of balance, which is in a sense neutral, and this is the power point. This is the point which is very important for us in those specific periods of times, because as he say, we are passing through the eye of the needle, and when we are able to stand in this midpoint and see that negative and positive are equally valid, we can choose the positive but not denying the negative, which will allow us to move freely and easily in the particular direction which we choose. If we deny the negative, we push it back, and like the spring has to come back to us, because we are holistic, we are holy already, and we include the negative and positive, and if we push something away, it must to come back to us. So the point of fulcrum is a point in which two energies equal in strength and opposite in balance find agreement. They find point of balance, and this is a raw power. So those 26 fulcrum points together with the one at the center, the major one, the 27th one, they create something like a matrix, and they are made because of vector lines. But what are those vector lines? From where they come from? Who make those vector lines? What they are actually? This is what I would like to share with you in this video. Now, what I have learned from other civilizations, call themselves star people, they prefer to be anonymous because they say it like Bashar, that the message is more important than the messenger itself. So they explain that everything in the universe is created by harmonic octaves. Group of resonant speed is what is the definition of an octave. An octave is a group of resonant speed. It can be huge, it can look like a galaxy, like solar system, like a planet or sun, like a human being. We are a group of resonant speeds. We have different organs, different tissues, but we are organized in one harmonic octave. Our organs themselves, they are also a group of resonant speeds. They have specific cells. Even a single cell, it's a group of resonant speeds. It has a core, it has different components. It's something that is organized from harmonic speeds. This is an octave. So they explain that the universe, everything in universe is made out of harmonic octaves. And regardless the size of these octaves, they can be infinitely big or infinitely small, but always they develop a central axis. And this central axis is passing through the center. Usually this harmonic octave look like a sphere, but sometimes because they have external and internal pressure, they can take different shapes. They can be like square, like cubes, and parallelepipeds, and so on and so forth. But mainly it looks like a sphere perfectly. And this primary axis passing through the center vertically intersect this, let's say, sphere. And in the points of intersections, there are created 2 points which they call points of potential. Now, except the primary axis, there are another 2. They call them a secondary axis, and they call them secondary axis Y and Z. The primary axis, they call it X. Bashar call it T, because T from time, because it's representing the time. Now, those secondary axes, they are in the equatorial plane of the sphere, and they are also 90 degrees, they are also perpendicular from each other, and they also intersect the sphere and continue their journey. But with the points when they intersect, they create also a point of potentials. Now, when you have those points of potentials on top and the bottom, and those on the equatorial plane, 90 degrees of each other, if you connect them, they are connected with lines, and those lines are called line of economy. In those lines of economy, if the points of potentials have equal potential, okay, because there are 4 different conditions, but if they have equal potential, that's then in this line of economy, in the middle of it, develop a point of fulcrum, which the 2 energies equal in strength and opposite in direction find balance. And this point of fulcrum also is connected. It's connected with the center point. The center point is the major point of fulcrum, in which all other points are connected through mutual coupling. In other words, if something happened to one point, this message is copy and paste to all other points, and they will understand the same message. They reflect the same message. So again, those primary axis, this primary axis, which is vertical, and the secondary axis, Y and Z horizontally, they intersect the octave, which is a group of resonance speeds. They develop points of potential, and because they are equal, they develop line, which is called the line of economy. In the middle of this line of economy, there is a point of fulcrum, and from this point of fulcrum, a vector line is going towards the center, allowing the time field or the potential energy to flow towards the center. And in this case, in the case of a sphere, those vector lines in 45 degrees, they repeat continuously themselves, and they create a conical shape. They create a conus, a vortex with a conical shape, which has a 90-degree apex angle at the center, connected to the central point of fulcrum in the middle of the sphere. And in the other side, below, develop another one which has a mirror shape, and it's also with 90-degree apex angle, but it's rotating in the opposite direction. This is two vortices which happens naturally inside of a group of resonance speeds if it's looking like a sphere, inside the sphere. Bashar explained that the sphere also representing the 8 principles, and also it is like another name for octave. Now, those vortices are what actually rotate the two interpenetrating tetrahedrons. They are not rotating physically in our device, which is caused by stem antenna, but those vortices rotating in a different direction, actually they create the effect which is happening inside, or part of the effects. So in the Merkaba, if you see it very closely, you will see that here we have the major point of fulcrum, which those lines intersect, and you will see here that there is this kind of point of fulcrum, which those two triangles, they kiss each other, and on each point of the stars, which are 8 points, and if you calculate it, if you are able to see, you will see that they are 45 degrees from each other, and the one that is in the center, actually it does not need to be a physical or made out of matter. The shape can be empty, like in this case, but this point exists at the center. It is something similar to what we call the center of gravity. If you have an empty box, the center of gravity, it will be inside in the middle, even though the box is empty inside. Something similar happened with this point of fulcrum at the center. So these 26 vector lines are actually naturally formed, and they can be very easily seen if you have a star tetrahedron made out of Sierpinski gasket. In order to be more easy for you to notice them and to see how they are situated, you can see, for example, an octahedron and passing through a vector lines from the center of each side, from the center of each edge of the octahedron, and from the center of each apex, because the core of the Merkaba inside, it's a perfectly symmetric octahedron. So you can use the octahedron. You can use also shape called a cube octahedron. You can use to identify those 26 vector lines. So this is very interesting, because Bashar, in other transmission, he's talking about those vector lines 45 degrees of each other. He explained how exactly they were using in an ancient time in order to create the Hebrew alphabet. They were using a horn, which is like Fibonacci spiral. They move it 45 degrees from the previous position with a candle, and the shadow casted on the wall. It was in a sense the way they take the idea of the ancient Hebrew alphabet, which is 27 letters. And also he is talking about super advanced extraterrestrial civilization. The name of them is Refractrum, and they were so advanced that they were able to tap with their technology the event horizon of the black hole and to extract all the information in the universe. And in order to contact them, he described a specific permission slip which looked like transparent sphere. It can be plastic sphere with 26 holes 45 degrees from each other, and passing through those holes waxed cord which is passing through. He mentioned that it's better to be a single string passing through those 26 holes which are 45 degrees from each other and intersecting in the center, creating the 27th fulcrum point. This permission slip, or this tool, he explained that it can be used in order to tap this extraterrestrial civilization, the consciousness of them, by using also a low string instrument and into a meditative state through the heart, to use this particular form and expression in order to tap into their energy, into their frequency. So now, as you can see, those vector lines, which are 45 degrees, they can be seen in the ancient time, they can be seen in a very advanced extraterrestrial technologies, they can be seen inside this star tetrahedron. But also, the other thing which is very important to mention here is that each pattern, each triangle has different size, different length, and which correspond to different frequency, because each frequency, no matter how big or small, has a wavelength. And in the fractal antenna, like Sierpinski gasket, we see that there are many different triangles with different sizes, and each size correspond to different set, different harmonic of frequency, which have different wavelength. So it's very wide bandwidth, in a sense, we can say, because many different frequency can be expressed and can be, in a sense, combined here or compressed here. In another videos, we're going to see how exactly this shape is radiating the light signal and how it's refracting and reflecting from the sphere, and what actually are the fields, how actually the fields interacts inside, what is the motion of the fields inside, and how the light actually is reflecting and refracting, because the way they see, specifically the reflection of the light, it's very different from what we know in our conventional physics. So thank you very much for watching this video. I'm sure that there are many things we did not cover here, but we're going to do it in the future videos, of course. Thank you and have a great day.